Thank you for joining us for today's presentation for the Huntsville Housing Authority. And as we say all the time, realtors are more than key turners and door openers. We're community advocates. Today's discussion will focus on how realtors can strengthen their businesses and our communities in Huntsville at the same time. The Housing Authority's mission is to develop and preserve a high standard of safe, affordable housing for qualifying people free from discrimination. The organization believes, like we do, that housing is a basic need and the foundation of a successful life. Their dedicated staff promotes neighborhood revitalization, self-sufficiency, and assistance for families in achieving long-term success and a high quality of life. Current Executive Director Antonio McGinnis works with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Huntsville officials, and other county departments to provide housing opportunities to low and moderate income working families, individuals, and elderly in our region. And with that, I'm pleased to hand it over to Tony. And Tony, it's good to see you today.
Oh, great to see you. Thank you for that kind introduction. We definitely appreciate it. Appreciate all that you do. Before we get started, we want to thank HAR and the staff for putting this together. I also want to thank my executive assistant, Felicia Beaulieu, for working with the team to put this together. We have an awesome staff, executive leadership on the call with us today, and you'll hear more from them in just a few minutes. But I also want to thank all the realtors who are online today that have joined us. You've taken time out of your busy schedules to meet with us, and hopefully what the information that you will hear today will give you some ideas. You'll be able to go back to some of your investors and think about the partnerships that can be created between the Huntsville Housing Authority and the local realtors here. We're just really excited for the information that's going to be shared with you all today. Just a little bit about Huntsville Housing Authority. We've been here now for 80 years. Housing Authority started back in 1941, and currently we have over 1,500 public housing units. We have roughly over 1,900 Section 8 vouchers, and you'll be hearing more about the Section 8 program today. Our current average salary income for our residents is right at about $16,000 a year, but we serve anyone from 30% to 80% AMI. And simply what that means is that a family of four making close to $65,000 a year could actually live in public housing. I know a lot of times individuals think of public housing, you think the poorest of the poor. But what we try to do is meet the need, because we all know as realtors and individuals in the profession that affordable housing is hard to come by. And what we're trying to do here at the Housing Authority is make those connections, give information that you all could share with individuals so that we can have a stronger community, because I think it's going to take all of us working together to see Huntsville really become the community we want it to become and that we're striving for it to come. So I'm excited about the dialogue that'll be taking place. And so that we can get right into the meat and potatoes of this presentation, I'm going to turn it right over to our Deputy Executive Director, Keisha Bryant. She's phenomenal. She has a lot of information. And what we'll do, Keisha will then turn it over to Paula, and we'll stay on the line to answer any questions that you all might have. But Keisha's going to be talking about some very exciting information that's coming to the city of Huntsville. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Keisha.
Thank you, Tony. I'd also like to thank HAR for hosting us today and allowing us to share some of the things that we at the Huntsville Housing Authority are doing and some of the things that are very relevant and important for this day and time. So what I'm going to be discussing with you all is the Mill Creek Choice Neighborhood. And what the Choice Neighborhood is, it's an initiative that was created by HUD. It was started in 2010 in an attempt to end poverty cycles in targeted neighborhoods by creating mixed income communities that offer opportunities for economic advancement. This program recognizes that the concentration of poverty perpetuates economic and social distress. And that's why this program emphasizes the creation of mixed income communities. And what we mean when we say mixed income communities is creating a community of incomes that are mixed with low income individuals, but also has market rate component that's rented to individuals who don't qualify for the units based on their income. They're able to rent anywhere. And so the Choice Neighborhood Initiative by HUD, it provides two types of grant funding, planning grants and implementation grants. Right now, we are in the planning grant phase. And like I said earlier, the program looks to transform distressed neighborhoods into neighborhoods of choice. And so neighborhood of choice means that it's an area where someone who may be living in poverty can have access to the same level of service and opportunities available to others who are not in a state of poverty. The planning process is based on 3 pillars. Those pillars are people, housing, and neighborhoods. So to talk more in depth about our Choice Neighborhood Award, we have partnered with the City of Huntsville, who was the lead applicant on the application. We were the co-applicant. And back in 2019, we submitted an application to HUD and we received notification that we were awarded. This is a highly competitive grant. So we were all on the edge of our seats awaiting, whether we were going to get it or not. And we were very excited to learn that we were going to receive this grant funding. And what it is we received $1.3 million that can be utilized to plan for the transformation of our selected neighborhood. I also think it's worth stating that when the awards were made for the planning grant, we were one of 4 cities and agencies that were awarded this grant. And there were, I believe, over 30 applications at that time. So like I said, highly competitive, very exciting stuff. And so now I want to talk to you all about the boundaries of our selected neighborhoods. And so the neighborhood that we selected, and I can get a map so that Sean can send it out to everyone and that you all can have something physical to look at. But the neighborhood that we selected is bounded by Memorial Parkway, Bob Wallace, Triana Boulevard, I-565, and Holmes Avenue. So it's about a 2 miles of land that we selected. And it doesn't form a perfect square. It's got a little bit of some variation there, but that's the neighborhood that we selected for our grant application to focus on for a transformation plan. Okay. And so with this planning grant, the main important thing is that it requires the selection of a targeted public housing site. So public housing is integral to this process. And improving the public housing is a core component of the process. So what we did was selected our Butler Terrace and Butler Terrace Addition sites. And those sites sit between Governor's Drive and Clinton Drive, and they are, the cross street there is Seminole. And so that's 254 public housing units that were selected as our targeted public housing sites. As we've gotten into the planning process, we've determined that we would possibly like to include some of our other public housing that's right there in the area within this planning process. So we do look to include our Johnson Towers site, which is the high-rise building that sits between Butler Terrace and Butler Terrace Addition, and it has an additional 120 units. And so, like I said, this public housing plays an integral role in the Choice Neighborhood planning process. And so what we will be trying to do through this process is to use the redevelopment of these public housing sites as a catalyst for creating neighborhoods of choice. And so, like I said, we've selected those housing sites. And while the redevelopment of the public housing sites is key within the planning process, it's also important that we take into context transforming the neighborhood as a whole, because in addition to the public housing that's located in the neighborhood, The entire neighborhood qualified for this grant because it is an area of poverty, lower AMI, typically disinvested property owners and that sort of thing. So it's seen some decline over the years. And so what we'll look to do is to transform this housing sites into a more densely more dense housing, which can incorporate that market rate component along with maintaining the affordability of a certain number of units in the site as well. One of the things that's really important to this planning process is the utilization of current partnerships and also the development of new partnerships. So that's why we're so excited to be sharing this information with you all today. One of the things that we think that was able to kind of raise our application to the next level was that in partnership with the city, we had a whole host of partners that that voiced their support, their written support that we could include in our application. And I just want to give you guys just a brief list of some of the partners who are assisting us with this effort. We've partnered with Arts Huntsville, Wellstone, United Way, Thrive, NACCE, Alabama A&M, Christian Women's Job Corps, Huntsville Hospital, the Boys and Girls Club, Labor Finders, Invent Communities, Huntsville Utilities, our local police department, First Baptist Church of Huntsville, Family Services Center, Neighborhood Concepts, Salvation Army, and Calhoun Community College. And we have additional partners, so this list is not exhaustive, but I just always want to shout out our partners because they are the reason why we were selected for this opportunity. And they have provided great support to us as we move through this planning process. So the way that this planning project is organized is we have a project team, and our project team is basically staff members from the city, Huntsville, and Camiros, who is our planning consultant. They're out of Chicago, Illinois, and they were hired for the purpose of leading us through this planning process. We've also convened a steering committee, which is comprised of community stakeholders. Many of those partners that I just listed to you are part of our steering committee. And so they provide us with oversight and technical input. We also have a group of resident ambassadors who are residents of our properties in the neighborhood and also residents in the broader neighborhood who are trained to perform outreach and community engagement to obtain grassroots input into the plan. We also receive oversight from HUD. We have two persons from the HUD Choice Neighborhood Program in Washington, D.C., who we meet with monthly, who also provide us with oversight and monitoring of our grant activities. So two things that are also a component of this process are early action projects and then action projects. Early action projects are a core part of the planning process. They're intended to be quick, low-cost improvements to make the neighborhood, to demonstrate that this process is not just about making plans, but actually about improving the neighborhood. Early action projects should be done within the first year of the grant, and the budget is typically about $50,000. These projects should have grassroots support from the neighborhood. And then also, we wanted to make sure we involve neighborhood residents, businesses in the area when we, started developing what these early action projects could look like. So some of the things that we have started and some of the things that are still in the works as far as early action projects are to improve the street lights at Butler Terrace. So one of the first things that we did was to engage with our residents, and one of the major concerns for them was lighting in the neighborhood. So in partnership with the city, of course, we have installed some new LED bulbs along the streets in the Butler Terrace neighborhood so that it can provide better lighting for our residents and also increase safety. We also are working on a new fence for the Glenwood Cemetery. That is something, that project is actually currently already underway. Glenwood Cemetery, of course, is located within our neighborhood boundaries. We are also working with Low Mill Arts and Entertainment to replace the chain link fence that they have currently surrounding their building. The upgraded fence will add 3 pedestrian gates for community access and enhance the beauty of the historic location. And so we have that project currently underway as well. Another project that we contemplated was to do a mural on Governor's Drive. And so we've partnered with Arts Huntsville in trying to make that happen. We've hit a few snags, and so we're looking at some alternative options to keep this one viable. But it hasn't, it's still on our radar. It's still something that we're trying to accomplish. And the last one is just safety improvements at Butler Terrace. A lot of our residents expressed concern at the speeds that drivers utilize when driving up and down Governor. So looking at different ways that we can improve that and make it safer for children in the area. So those are our early action projects. The next thing that I said earlier is our action activities, and these are different from early action. These are higher budget projects that are intended to jumpstart transformation and should be implemented during the term of the grant. The budget for the action activities is $950,000. And so we've utilized our steering committee and our partners to kind of help us vet different projects. It looks like the project that we will be moving forward with as far as action activities that will help to jumpstart the transformation of the neighborhood. It's going to be streetscape beautification and enhancement of Governor's Drive, because it is one of the main corridors in the neighborhood. And so we think that that will be an excellent addition to the neighborhood, and that it will also complement the intended development that we plan to do in the future. So the way that the transformation plan comes together is there are 3 plans: the neighborhood plan, the people plan, and the housing plan. And so we've already gotten pretty deeply into each of these plans. And so what I'm going to do now is kind of summarize some of the things that have come about through our discussions with our steering committees and our stakeholders and our community partners as things that we would like to consider addressing in our transformation plan. So we held a neighborhood plan workshop last month, and I think we had about 15 to 20 participants to engage with us and talk with us through different topics related to the neighborhood. And some of the things that resulted from that discussion would be, things that people would like to would be increasing safety through design improvements, designing the creek for recreation through the design of a walking path, building retail along Governor's Drive, focused around the intersection at Seminole, improving bike connections, building a grocery store in the community, and possibly looking to build a new community center that could be integrated with supportive services that are already in the neighborhood and a supportive services that would like to be in the neighborhood. For our people plan, some of the solutions that have come about or things that people would like to see come about are a youth artist program, a neighborhood hiring program to get computers to residents, work with the inner city learning center to potentially build a new facility in the neighborhood to offer more services to both the students and adults who will live in the neighborhood, bring more workforce development programs to residents, emphasize case management, and bring a new Thrive clinic to the neighborhood and allocate more money for mental health. And the final thing is our housing plan. So the things that came out of our housing plan discussions are ensure that the unit mix is appropriate and affordable housing is not sacrificed, find appropriate balance of townhomes and multifamily, determine what, if any, housing will need to be located off-site, and ensure historic properties are preserved where appropriate. And so the planning grant is typically about a 3-year grant. So we are well into our 2nd year of planning. We look to have a draft of our transformation plan around the end of June. And then we will, of course, present it for input, additional changes, and anything that comes out of the presentation of the plan so that we can make sure that we're being as inclusive as possible in getting our input and making sure that this transformation plan is truly what the community would like to see for this neighborhood. So we'll allow about 60 to 90 days after the draft to receive some input and do some presentations before we submit the final copy to HUD. Once we submit our final transformation plan to HUD, then we would become eligible to apply for the implementation grant, which actually provides funding for us to begin the actual construction and demolition and, really getting into the project. So we are, we're moving right along. We've definitely been slowed down a little bit by COVID, but we've continued to advance. Our HUD staff in Washington, D.C. has been really impressed with the things that we've been able to do as far as continuing to engage with our steering committee and our community through, more creative ways, since we're not able to, gather in large groups at this time. But we found ways to continue to keep this plan moving. And so, it's our hope that we will put together this plan and that it will be well received by the community. And if there's anything that the community doesn't like, that you will also share that with us as well, so that we can take that into account. It's also our hope, that the final product will be a beautiful mixed income community that will serve not only our residents, but will, like I mentioned earlier, be a true community of choice where people actually choose to live because of the quality of the housing and also because of the access to the services and amenities in the area as well. And so that's our Mill Creek Choice neighborhood planning process. So I am going to turn it over to Paula Bingham. She is the director of our assisted housing program, also known as Section 8, and she's going to talk with you all about Section 8.
Thank you, Keisha. Good morning. I think it's still morning. Thank you for allowing me to have this platform to talk to you about the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also referred to as Section 8. It's the federal government's primary program for assisting very low-income families, elderly, and persons with disabilities to afford decent, safe, and sanitary housing in the private market. Since housing assistance is provided on behalf of the Section 8 tenant, participants are able to find their own housing, including single-family homes, apartments, and even mobile homes. Huntsville Housing Authority administers the Housing Choice Vouchers here in Madison County, and we receive funds from HUD to administer the program. This is actually a three-way partnership between the tenant, the landlord, and Huntsville Housing Authority. Our participant under the program, the tenant, they sign the voucher, which outlines their responsibilities, the things that they must do, the things that they must not do to remain on the program. The tenant signs a lease with the landlord, and they'll need to sign the same lease as any other tenant without a Section 8 voucher. And the Huntsville Housing Authority will sign a housing assistance payments contract with the landlord. And this contract states that we will pay rental assistance for our participant as long as they're in compliance with the terms of the voucher and the Code of Federal Regulations. So we currently have an allocation of 2,064 vouchers right now. 208 of those are specifically for veterans. And this has proven to be a really wonderful program, with many of our veterans actually living on the street before being housed. Some have gone from being homeless to getting a job and no longer needing rental assistance to have the income that they need to pay their own rent at market rate. We've had some that have actually purchased homes. So you can imagine going from living on the street to having a roof over your head really helps you to be able to go out and get a job or to pursue any other activities. This has really been a program that has touched many people. We also have a new allocation of 65 vouchers specifically for families that have a non-elderly disabled family member. And we received another 25 for youth aging out of the foster care system. So we have stepped up to take all these new programs and that HUD has offered to us so that we can help different types of families that need rental assistance. We issue vouchers every month based on attrition. So there are always people with vouchers out there searching for units, but finding available units has been a struggle, and it seems to be getting worse. All of the apartments that are under construction are Class A, and we need more affordable housing. And when I say affordable, we're actually paying 105% of the fair market rent. And we're also using small area FMRs in most of the higher income areas, income based on zip codes. So just as an example, in the Harvest area, families that have a voucher, a 4-bedroom voucher, would actually qualify for a house that rents for close to $2,000. In Madison, $1,500 to about $1,800 would qualify for a family with a 4-bedroom voucher, depending on the zip code in Madison. Units that have previously been off limits for our families are now affordable. So I think there's a misconception that the rent has to be extremely low to work with our program, and it's no longer that way. For landlords participating in the program, we believe it's a win-win, and that's because, number one, you're going to screen your clients, your applicants with the vouchers the same way that you would do anyone else. We don't want them to be treated any differently. We actually do criminal background checks, but we don't screen for suitability like rental history. We don't do that. But on the other hand, if we have a family that has a voucher and they want to relocate from one unit to another, we do require that they be in good standing before allowing them to move with continued voucher assistance. This is a little added security, we believe, for a landlord, because our families, they don't want to lose their voucher. We don't see many evictions at all for our families. If a voucher participant is evicted by their landlord, they will be terminated from the voucher program, which is another good reason for a landlord to participate with us. And probably the biggest benefit for a landlord to participate is the fact that our families pay rent based on their income. So if they lose that income, we're going to pay the entire rent amount. So when you think about it, when you sign a lease with a tenant without a voucher, they obviously are going to have a job. And if they lose that job, maybe because of COVID, they won't be able to pay their rent. You may have to evict them. And now, of course, you can't even evict for non-payment of rent because of the eviction moratorium. So they may just be sitting there not paying any rent at all, while our landlords are getting the full rent right now. So, and also as a little added bonus, we received some additional funding from HUD under the CARES Act, and we are paying a $500 landlord incentive bonus right now for any new unit that goes under contract with us. That's for any unit that hasn't been leased by a voucher participant during the last 12 months. So if you have rental property, we're asking you to just try one. Just give us a chance to show you how this program can work for you. Try leasing to just one family under the Section 8 program. If you're not happy when the lease expires, you're not obligated to renew that lease. And just because you rent to one family with a voucher doesn't mean that you have to rent to every voucher participant, as long as you're following fair housing. So for anyone that wants to consider partnering with us, you'll be responsible for making sure that your unit meets housing quality standards as determined by HUD, and these are minimum standards. That's what we look for when we do an inspection. And all of this information is on our website if you're thinking about participating with us. Check out our website and look under landlord information. Like I said earlier, our families will pay rent based on their income, and they'll pay approximately 30% of their monthly income to you, their landlord, for their portion of the rent. And we will pay the remainder of the rent to you by direct deposit. If their income changes, their portion of the rent will change. If they have no income at all, we're going to pay the entire rent amount. And there's very minimal paperwork required from you, basically proof of ownership of the property and information to set up direct deposit. We'll do an inspection. After the unit passes inspection, the tenant will sign your lease. We get a copy of it, and then we'll have you sign a housing assistance payments contract, and subsidy will start the first of the following month. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, but in closing, just a few of the highlights of the program are, well, first and foremost, guaranteed rent. We pay you by direct deposit, usually on the first business day of the month. We also assist in marketing the units. Our landlords can list their properties on GoSection8.com, which is the largest affordable housing listing service in the nation. And our clients use this website in their search for a unit to lease. We provide assurance that your property is well maintained. We're going to inspect the unit before our clients move in, and every 2 years thereafter. And we will also do an inspection at any time at the request of you, the landlord, or the tenant. So, and finally, by offering families affordable housing, you're making a difference in the lives of people that are unable to afford market rent at this time. We have a landlord liaison, Debbie Shepard. She's available to answer any questions that you have at any time and can help with listing your property. We also have a landlord portal where all of our information goes as far as inspection information, direct deposit information is all on our website, is all on the landlord portal, which you would have access to. And of course, I'm always available to discuss the program. If you want to stop by and talk to me, I can go into further detail with you, or if you just want to give me a call or email, I'll be glad to help in any way that I can. We're definitely looking for new landlords to participate in the program. We are issuing probably about 80 vouchers every month this year to try to get our numbers up. We kind of went down due to COVID and not being able to do inspections. People were not wanting to move during COVID, but with the vaccine, everybody's going to be ready to move. We have people moving into Huntsville from other housing authorities. A voucher is portable. That means that they can take a voucher that they have in Tennessee and move to Huntsville or from anywhere in the country. And we have so many families right now porting into Huntsville. So we need some units for our families to lease. We're looking for new landlords, and if you would consider leasing under the program, please give me a call or go to our website. We'll be happy to talk to you about the program and the benefits for you. So thank you for letting me spill and talk about the program. That's near and dear to my heart. I've been working here for 18 years, so I can tell you we've got some great success stories from participants that have been on the program, have purchased homes, have gotten jobs where they no longer need our help anymore. We really say that this program is a bridge to our family's self-sufficiency. We don't want this to be a program where they stay on it for the rest of their lives. We have so many programs available for our clients so that they can become self-sufficient, and that's our goal for everyone under the program. So again, thank you for listening, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Well,
Hey, Paula.
no, go ahead, Sean.
Oh, I was just going to ask, Paula, do you mind putting your contact information in the chat? And if there's any specific pages that you suggest realtors that might be interested in that program, if you want to put that link in there too. Thank you.
And again, thanks, Paula, and thanks, Keisha, for the information. I really thought it'd be great information to know about what's going on, especially with Mill Creek development, the partnership that we have going on with the city and our Section 8 program. One of the things that we really want to do at the Housing Authority moving forward is to be a lot more transparent about what's going on here, the programs that we have to offer, and how we can partner and make sure that we are locking arms with everybody in the community, because it's going to take a community effort. So we thank Keisha and Paula for sharing with us. Paula, I mean, there was a comment in the chat about what is required for homes built prior to 1978 to become a Section 8 home, lead-based paint inspections, and then there was a question mark. So if you want to answer that.
Okay, I was actually typing it in, but we require the landlord to sign a document saying that there's no lead-based paint. We also, when we do our housing quality standards inspections, we make sure that there's no peeling paint, interior or exterior, which would be the hazard to small children.
And Sean, I'll turn it over to you if you want to direct the question and answer segment, or however you want to do that.
Yeah, sure. If you know, if anybody had any questions or anything like that, you know, please feel free to unmute yourself. I think we've all been doing this regularly. So you know, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, you know, please feel free to do so. Or if you'd like to put it in chat, that works too.
In the meantime, let me just thank you guys, because I sold my house a little over a year ago, and I was thinking about putting that sign in the yard for sale by owner, and we decided to list it with a friend who's a realtor, and we got way more than I wanted for it and way more than the listing price. So I think you guys need to come up with a bumper sticker that says, if you sold your house for more than the listing price, thank a realtor.
That's perfect. We're always trying to spread that word. Yeah, if even in today's market, if you want your home sold faster and for a better price, it's always a better idea to go to valleymls.com and find a realtor and get them to help you out. So I don't see any questions in chat, and if no one had anything, you know, if anybody from the Housing Authority had any final thoughts, you know, I don't think either one of us expects, you know, this partnership to end after, you know, the Zoom's over. So, you know, we'll certainly be working with you to, you know, find those opportunities for landlords, or, you know, maybe realtors who want to become landlords. So this is a great opportunity, you know, like we branded this discussion just to, you know, boost your business and the community at the same time. And I think that's what we're all here for. So.
Well, thank you, Sean. There is actually one thing I'd like to add. Yesterday evening, we started holding replacement housing workshops with our residents. And so we had a good number of our residents to come out, and it was moderated by our planning coordinator, Bill, who's in town from Chicago. And so, you know, we've started showing our residents the different building types that we're considering for when we do start construction in the neighborhood. And so we showed them, you know, everything from single family to duplexes to townhouses, you know, to dense mid-rise buildings, some with some contemporary style to them. And our residents, you know, just going from the initial, what do you prefer? And then talking through them with the different housing types. It was so interesting just to see that they're learning a lot during this process. They're really excited. They're engaging with us. And so they are really invested in what their future community will look like. And so that was really exciting to share with them yesterday evening. And we'll continue, of course, to engage with them and keep them involved.
That's great. That's really
And
cool. to hear.
if there's any other questions about the Choice neighborhood and future redevelopment in our Mill Creek neighborhood, I put my email address and my phone number in the chat box. We, as part of this planning process, we will look, for different commercial aspects to redevelopment, rental aspects for housing, and, possibly some townhouses and that sort of thing. So if anyone would like any additional information, please just let us know.
And same for me as well, shared my information. And if you just want to call and let's talk about the program, if you're hesitant, if you have any other questions about how we can make this work for you, if you have rental property, I would certainly love the opportunity to talk. Thank you very much.
Paula, this is Felicia. I had one question. First of all, thank you so much for explaining about Section 8. I know there's a lot of perception out there that Section 8 doesn't pay the whole amount of money, so people don't want to be involved with someone that would pay them less than market value for their house. So thank you for explaining that even to me. And then I had a question though, if I were a realtor, how would this affect me? How could I best able to serve my customers and as well as make a commission or something like that? You talked about how some of your residents have moved out and bought their own places. Can you explain a little bit about that?
We actually have a home ownership program through Section 8. It's really the best kept secret out there. A family would have to be on the program first and then go through some home ownership counseling. They would have to qualify for a mortgage on their own. However, we provide, if they are participating in this program, mortgage assistance instead of rental assistance. So we can actually help a family pay a mortgage payment for up to 15 years with the homeownership mortgage assistance program. So we work with our families, get them with a lender, hopefully helping them to increase their credit score. And we know that when they are thinking about this program, it may take them a couple of years to get to where they need to be as far as employment and their credit score. So the whole time we're helping them and referring them to the services that they need to get them where they need to be in order to qualify for a mortgage. But we do have this program available to our clients. We've had clients purchase homes on the private market as well without the mortgage assistance. But our goal is to help our families to become self-sufficient so that they can get to where they need to be in order to purchase a home.
Thank you. I have a question. What about elderly, senior citizens? We run across, I'm a realtor here in Huntsville, and we run across families that want to like the mom can't take care of the house anymore. They don't want her there by herself, and they want to put her, they don't want to put her in a nursing home. She's not quite ready for that. But it's hard to find affordable senior living. I mean, I know about the old Russell Erskine Hotel. The joke is that's where I'm going to retire at one day. But, but I mean, that would free up some homes because we have a huge shortage of homes right now. And if we could find some housing for the elderly. So what do y'all have to offer there?
Keisha, do you want to talk about Stone Ridge Villas Phase 2?
Oh, yes, that's actually a great segue. Thank you, Paula. So we do, in our traditional public housing, we do have some senior sites, which are public housing sites that are designated solely for seniors. And so if you have seniors who are up to 80% of AMI and anywhere below, then they are eligible to apply. Our waiting lists are actually open. So if you know someone that's interested in a unit, please have them to go to our website. I will type it in the chat box. It's just hsvha.org. And there is a blue button at the top left hand of the screen that will say apply for public housing, and you can actually do it online and submit an application. And we are, like I said, our waiting lists are open. We're looking to get people housed, and we've got our intake staff moving really quickly to get people from application to housing. Another thing, what Paula was talking about is we partnered with a private developer to develop some new housing units out in Madison off of Balch Road. A couple of years ago, I believe maybe about 2019 summer, we opened our first phase, which was 80 units of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, which are designated specifically for elderly applicants. And so we opened that up. And when I say they filled up in the blink of an eye, we didn't have any issue getting those units leased up. And so we are now in partnership with the same developer to develop phase 2 out there, which will be a continuation of phase 1 located at 1700 Balch Road. And so we'll have an additional 65 units, which will be coming online. And once we're just at the point now of closing for financing. So we're a little bit far out from actual lease up. But when we do get to the point of lease up, we'd be happy to share some of the flyers that we receive with HAR, so that you all can be updated about when that application process opens up for those 65 new units that are coming to Madison.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're
Keisha,
welcome.
what is the age limitation when you say senior citizens? Where does that start at?
So we typically start at 62, but we can go down to 55 if we can't find 62 and above to get us to a point of full occupancy.
And one more thing about the Balch Road development, Stone Ridge Villas, we do have some project-based rental assistance available there. So not all of the units will be subsidized, but for phase 2, I believe we have 25 units that will be project-based vouchers and 3 public housing units, which means that the rent would be based on their income. The other units are considered affordable because they are funded with tax credits. So the rent is going to be affordable no matter what. These units, I'm telling you, are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So if you know anyone that has a senior citizen, actually 55 is not, to me, not a senior citizen, but I guess it could be. Technically, but really drive out there and take a look at that property. You'll be amazed at how beautiful it is.
They're really building that community up out there. They have a new Publix and a whole bunch of brand new stores and really easy access. It's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that area is really exciting right now. I also just dropped in the chat a link to a map that shows you the boundaries of our choice neighborhood, because it's easier to look at a map and see what I'm talking about than hear me give you cross streets. So feel free to click on that and get a better idea of the parameters of the neighborhood. Any other questions?
I don't see any other questions in chat. Did anybody have anything else that they wanted to ask? We'll post a recording of this, in the usual places if anybody wanted to share this with their colleagues, and of course we'll get that to the folks at the Housing Authority. Antonio, Keisha, Paula, did y'all have anything else? Felicia?
I just want to say thanks again for all the support that you all have done to make this an actual event. Sean, I appreciate the work that you put in. Thanks to all the realtors who are online. We definitely appreciate you all taking time. Hopefully this information, you can take it and use it. And we're looking forward to doing this again if we need to. And anytime you need to reach out to us, feel free to do so. We're here to serve our community. We want to be an agency that locks arms with the community to get things done. Affordable housing is near and dear to all of us. And we just hope that we can be a support for you all.
Awesome.
Also, I know that a lot of you all are, connected in many different networks. So if, any of your networks have any interest in having us, present different information about what we're doing at the Housing Authority, like Antonio said, we are, we are seeking transparency. We are seeking to share what the things that we do. And, so we'd be happy to connect with any of you so that we can continue to share what we're doing at the Housing Authority with the community. And thank you again for having us.
All right. Well, I guess that's it, folks. Thanks everybody for joining us. And like I said, we'll get this posted in the usual places on Facebook and the weekly, and of course on our website. So thanks again, everybody, for joining. And Zelda, did you want to say anything to close it down?
I sure do. I want to say thank you for being here today. This has been fantastic. I got notes front and back of pages. I mean, this is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all this wonderful information with us. The grant just sounds so exciting. You can tell in Keisha's voice. She's all excited about this and what's going to be coming up. So again, thank you, Paula, and also Tony. It was good to see you again too. And thank you for joining us today. And I hope this conversation doesn't stop here, and that we continue to work together and to support our vulnerable friends and neighbors while cementing the fact that realtors are community advocates. Thank you all so much, and y'all have a great afternoon.
You too. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.